What happens when your goals outgrow the brand that you built them on? So there's a lot of controversy around rebrand, don't rebrand. And I just want to talk to you about how when you've built something and then you're noticing specific things, there are actual measurements and kind of symptoms that come up when you might want to consider a rebrand or at the very least a refresh of your website and the copy on it. Okay. Welcome to Inspiration Contagion, the podcast for leaders, founders, and change makers. Here we explore real stories from transformational business leaders who face fear, uncertainty, and growth head on. Let's lead with inspiration on purpose. So let's talk about how when we're leaders, we are constantly evolving the direction we're going, who we serve, the products we offer. There's so many pivots. We are, as entrepreneurs and leaders, constantly pivoting and constantly growing. And that's great because it keeps us relevant, it keeps us growing, it keeps us helping our customers and staying 10 steps ahead of them so that we remain necessary for our customers and we can retain our customers for a long time. And when we show up as great leaders, we retain amazing employees that create an amazing experience for our clients. But there's also a lot that happens when brands need to shift or pivot because the pivot is so big or it's so out of alignment with what was originally created. And this is something that I don't think is talked about quite enough. Our early goals are typically very survival or get off the ground, grassroots influence. And then when we're mid stage, we're very growth based with our goals. And then later on, our goals are more about impact, energy, alignment, and legacy. And that's a beautiful thing. And when we have metrics and KPIs, key performance indicators, that allow us to constantly measure where we are in those early stage goals, mid stage, and long stage goals. That's great because it allows us to have data points where we can make database decisions to pivot and to see where we need to change. But the problem is a lot of people think that more is better and that more is part of the solution. And that's not always the case. In fact, how might you know that you need a rebrand? There are some quiet signals that I have noticed when working with clients, with companies, with corporate entities, with nonprofits. What are some of the signs that you might want to consider a rebrand or that it's inevitable? One symptom is that offers still work, but they feel heavy, like it's taking longer to close deals, it's taking different payment plans, it's not aligning with the typical customer or client that you would typically work with. The audience, right? But the conversation might also feel a little shallow or surface level. Success no longer feels energizing. Like maybe all the things, the last two symptoms aren't the case, but you don't feel as energized or as excited because maybe what you built has become out of alignment with your legacy, or you've lost sight of the legacy you're trying to build. And for a lot of our leaders and owners, that is building a foundation, a nonprofit, giving it charitable causes, or, building a future for their children. And when we lose sight of that, or we don't communicate that as part of what we're doing, there's massive a misalignment and really a lack of balance and firm foundation. Another symptom could be the brand attracts clients, but it's from an old chapter of who you were as a leader and business owner. We all know we have that first starter avatar or that first starter ideal client. And then eventually you grow, evolve, and you have different beliefs and different types of leaders you want to attract, different companies you want to work with. And there might also be different pain points you address. So, if our original brand messaging and website are reflecting a very old you and an old solution and an old clientele, and you're wondering why you're feeling exhausted, it's because you need an update, because you need new languaging, new messaging, and you need to be a new magnet to attract those right fit partners, employees, clients, customers, all of the things. And it's a painful process. But here's the good news is when you try to refresh or rebrand and you don't have a clear idea of what the thing is, it's not time to do that. Like maybe you need to work with an expert, yes, but until you have the clarity of what's misaligned or what's off, you're going to feel all of the objections about rebranding because rebranding is painful. It's, like a butterfly coming out of the cocoon. It's this really difficult process. There's technologies to update. There's work, there's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of intention. It is a process because it impacts everything, everything. So you have to be really certain that the rebrand or the revitalized messaging is something you're excited about, is something that's going to make things easier, is something that's aligned. Perfect case in point. 2 years ago, I knew we needed to rebrand, but every time I would work at it, it felt like work. And every time we came up with ideas and we went out to our clients for feedback, nothing felt aligned. It felt exhausting. It felt not right. And so we just kind of put it on the back burner and added it to our wish list in our project management platform. Fast forward to about 4 or 5 months ago, and I knew we needed a rebrand. Like I knew based on data, I knew based on how I was feeling, I knew we had reached a level of maturity and who we wanted to attract. And I had so much clarity on our why, our who, our what, our how. And it was so different than our current website, our current brand, that I knew we had to move forward. And also, I didn't need to ask anybody in our audience's permission around the new name for the business because I just knew it was the right direction with 100% certainty. And then when we did start sharing different bits and pieces with our past ideal client and our current ideal clients, and our fans had nothing but overwhelmingly huge feedback and support and just really small tweaks that we get to make and overwhelming support because it's the right move. And so these are some of the things you might notice that are out of alignment. If where you started your company 8 years ago, you haven't updated anything, I guarantee you need at the very least a revitalization of your message because I guarantee who you are 8 years later is totally different. And who you serve has changed quite a bit, I'm sure, or expanded. And so your messaging, your brand is the magnet for what you put into the world. And if that's not creating a beautiful light, if you were a lighthouse to attract your people, that's a problem. And you get to show up and say, this is the new us. This is our new vision, our mission. These are our values. These are the things we do. And if it doesn't start with your why, it needs to. What sparked and got me the clarity for this rebrand, which is launching next week, was reading Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why Again. I read it when I started my business and then I reread it 8 years later. And the why it's the same, but different. And our business had lost sight of that why in terms of our messaging, our branding, all of the things. And as soon as I got back to that, I know this is going to bring so much alignment, be a magnet and a light for all of our partners, all of our clients, for the future things that we want to create in the world. And that's why our new brand is Changemaker Impact Co. Because we work with changemakers. These are the business owners, the speakers, the authors, the nonprofits of the world who believe and are creating through action things that will make this world a better place. And finally, when I had that clarity that we want to support these change makers to heal our world by empowering them to go even bigger, to go even further, to scale their business so they can impact even more people. That's exciting. That's tangible. And that's why we're rebranding our business. That's why we're changing our KPIs. We're changing our metrics. We're changing our branding. We're changing all of our messaging so that it aligns with who we work with in a more tangible and a more clear way that we didn't have 8 years ago. Our why hasn't changed, but how I can communicate it, I have so much more clarity behind it. And that is so exciting. So if you're feeling like you need a rebrand, when you get to the right answer, you're going to feel so much excitement and so much energy, more than just overwhelm and resistance. And until you get to that place, it's not the right time. Sit with it, reread, start with why, or read it for the first time, and really stew it, steep it, simmer in your why. And when you have that clarity, anything you build from there is going to be successful. Okay. This rebrand we're so excited about. I'm so excited for you to come check it out. Please, my call to action this week is check out our new website, Changemaker Impact Co. We are so excited to share this with the world. If it inspires you, we would love to collaborate with you. We'd love to support you. If you need support in growing your business as a change maker, just share this with the world and share this episode so that we can be a more inspired community of change makers out there. We also have started a weekly live stream every Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook for my business page. If you want to check into that, you can also just add a comment to any of those, and we will send you the link to sign up for Rise and Lead, our weekly channel for helping change makers get motivated every single Monday morning. All right. Rise and lead, you Inspiration Contagion leaders. And I hope that this was inspiring. I hope that it has allowed you the space to really think about your messaging and see if your brand and your website needs a revamp or a rebrand. You've got this. Thanks for spending your time with me today. If this episode supported you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs it. When inspiration spreads, real impact follows. I'll see you next time.